Introduction. Understanding the Purpose and Power of Woman. A book for women and the men who love them by Dr. Myles Munroe. Introduction. It is extremely difficult to be a woman in the 21st century. Women around the world are facing the dilemma of identity. Many women are struggling to discover who they are and where they stand today in the family, the community, and the world. At the same time that women's personal expectations and roles are changing in some nations, many men around the world still have their own opinions about the place of women and want to impose certain standards of behavior on them. Other men are uncertain about the women's role and functions, and therefore they offer little support to women who are struggling with questions of identity. Additionally, many societies are still very much in a place of transition regarding the status of woman. Because of this shift in position and roles, many women are finding themselves in either an uneasy cooperation or an uncomfortable conflict with men. The question of a woman's status and the issue of equal rights for women are relevant to every culture and society on the globe. The world's confusion over the place and the worth of a woman manifests itself in a variety of ways. In industrial nations, changing roles of women in the family and society not only have brought new vocational opportunities for women, but also unforeseen personal and social issues. Even though women are working the same jobs as men, on an average, they earn less than men and have less opportunity for advancement. Though many women are building careers, they are also still doing the majority of the child rearing and the household chores. The pace of such a life is leaving them exhausted and disillusioned. On a personal level, confusion over male-female roles and expectations has led to misunderstandings, conflicts, and unstable relationships with the opposite sex. Women today are struggling with the delicate balance of attending to the needs of both their family and their careers, job competition with men, emotional turmoil, and lost income due to divorce, single parenthood, and conflicts stemming from cultural changes in the way women and men interrelate. Some women are confused about what a woman should be and how she should conduct herself because they are not sure what a woman is supposed to be responsible for anymore. What is compounding these issues is that cultures around the world have their own ideas about a woman's identity and role, and these ideas are varied and contradictory. In many Western countries, a woman is accepted as a competitor in the work world. At the same time, she is often expected to fulfill the traditional roles of a wife and mother. In many developing countries, cultural views of a woman's role continue to devalue her worth and dignity. Sometimes she's considered the equivalent of a domestic servant or slave. A woman living under such a view is extremely vulnerable to emotional or physical abuse, poverty, disease, and even death. A striking example of this is the plight of women in Afghanistan who are being denied health care, education, employment, and personal freedom. Another example is the situation of women in the third world nations who are at high risk of contracting HIV/AIDS. The June 2000 United Nations AIDS report on the global epidemic reported that the percentage of women being infected with HIV is rising. 52%, 1.3 million of all AIDS deaths in the year 2000 were women. The reason? Many young girls and women are being sexually exploited and are falling victim to the disease through contact and with infected men. We are not addressing the underlying cause of the problem of women worldwide. The breadth and depth of the issues that women face worldwide is overwhelming, yet current books and other literature about male-female relationships and women's rights are not addressing the underlying cause that is fueling the crisis women are dealing with today. My concern is that the longer this cause is overlooked, the longer the plight of women will continue. I travel throughout the world and I see the numerous problems of women firsthand. Women are facing a myriad of issues and dilemmas whether they live in Africa, Europe, the Caribbean, South America, Australia, Antarctica, Asia, or North America. There will always be certain factors such as natural disasters and war that exacerbate problems for women and men alike. However, the root cause of the special problems women face, the issue that is largely contributing to their distress in the world, is essentially being ignored. The woman in North America who is juggling a career and family, the woman in Afghanistan who is being denied basic human rights, and the young girl in Kenya who has just contracted the AIDS virus are each facing aspects of a common dilemma. Their problems are different manifestations of the underlying issue. Uncovering and addressing this underlying issue is a central theme of this book. What then is the root cause of the problem? Before I answer this question, I want to say that it is not as if efforts and progress have not been made in respecting and valuing women. For example, from its inception, the United Nations has been concerned with women's issues. The United Nations Charter affirmed its faith in fundamental human rights and the dignity and worth of the human person, and the equal rights of men and women. In the years since the founding of the United Nations, international laws and treaties regarding women's rights have been adopted. Yet, if you read the language of these succeeding proclamations, you will notice a recurring theme. After acknowledging that some progress has been made, the resolution admits that discrimination against women still exists. Even among member nations who have pledged to uphold the resolution, those who are committed to making life better for women have had to admit that progress is slow and that change is hard to measure and even harder to enforce. The UN Convention on the Elimination of All Forms of Discrimination Against Women, often called the International Bill of Rights for Women, suggests the cause of the problem. It targets culture and tradition as influential forces shaping gender roles and family relations. Over the centuries and millennia, societies all over the world have developed ideas about what it means to be a woman or a man, and most of what has been promoted through cultural and tradition has devalued women in some way. We may well ask the question, what has caused diverse cultures and traditions around the world to misunderstand and devalue women? Why is the attitude seemingly ingrained in people's hearts